The Family Resource and Youth Service Centers of Kentucky Coalition is proud to present Knowing the Difference Between Advocacy and Lobbying. Our mission is to promote a network among those who strive to remove educational barriers to learning in order to learn from each other, share resources, and collaborate more effectively on behalf of families, children, and youth. We are compelled to fulfill this mission by the promise of all the possible outcomes. 1. Powerful, united voice for children and families. A collaborative risk field, one that is a valuable and valued partner and resource to families, student support, development, and education. Nonpartisan support of increased state and local commitment to family resource and youth service centers, and ultimately, healthier, empowered children and families, and stronger, more vibrant communities. So, what is the difference between advocacy and lobbying? Advocacy means to educate. Advocacy is defined as any action that speaks in favor of, recommends, argues for a cause, supports, or defends, or pleads on behalf of others. It is important to remember that not all advocacy work is lobbying, but all lobbying work is a form of advocacy. So, what types of regular communication between you and your legislator are seen as advocacy or educating he or she about the center and its programs? Monthly newsletters spotlighting current programs, their purpose, and the impact they have on improving the educational experience of your students and their families is an excellent way of advocating for your center. Also, routine invitations to events at your school or special programs or special occasions are another great way of helping legislators learn what goes on at your school and advocating for your center. Lobbying, or lobby, is the act of attempting to influence decisions made by officials in the government, most often legislators or members of regulatory agencies. Lobbying is done by many different types of people, associations, and organized groups, including individuals in the private sector, corporations, federal legislators or government officials, or advocacy groups. Lobbyists may be among a legislator's constituencies, meaning a voter or block of voters within his or her electoral district. They may engage in lobbying as a business. Professional lobbyists are people whose business is trying to influence legislation on behalf of a group or individual who hires them. Individuals and nonprofit organizations can lobby as an act of volunteering or as a small part of their normal job. For instance, a CEO with a representative about a project important to his or her company, and or activist meeting with his or her legislator in an unpaid capacity. Grassroots lobbying is appealing to the general public to contact a legislator about an issue. Therefore, it is very important for center coordinators and other staff to remember that when asked by the coalition to encourage community members to contact their legislators about a particular issue or piece of legislation, that this contact be done on personal time using personal phones, computers, and email addresses. No one should ever communicate this information on center time or using center resources. Direct lobbying is contacting government officials or employees directly to influence legislation. Once again, it is important to remember that if you're contacting a legislator to ask for their support for a particular piece of legislation or for a particular issue, that you do so on your personal time and with your personal communication resources. How does our coalition advocate? We educate. We inform our organization about the current policies and problems affecting our communities and centers. We evaluate. We evaluate our organization's mission and goals and examine whether current programs involve advocacy as a means to address problems or grievances of our centers and communities. If not, we decide how advocacy can play a larger role in our organization's programs. Furthermore, we collaborate. We work with other groups whose philosophy and goals resonate with ours. Together, pooling staff and resources, all parties involved in our coalition are better equipped to take on campaigns and work for change. It is very important to remember We all should be advocating for our centers on a regular basis by sharing program information with our legislators and inviting them to come see these programs in action. And we must all step up to the plate when the coalition calls for action on a particular issue. But most importantly, we need to be sure that we're doing so in a responsible and legal fashion. It's also important to remember we're all in this together. Your support and involvement are a necessity. The coalition is here to support our centers, programs, families, and students. However, the coalition is only as strong and successful as its members.